Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be ranking every single Premier League manager from elite all the way down to championship level or worse. So I'm excited for this one, but before we get into it, I just want to give a big shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. They have been kind enough to sponsor the channel, so if you do want to support me and download the best football app there is out there, go and click that link in the description right now. You won't regret it. They've got a brand new design and it's looking extra sharp. They've got some amazing features such as AR lineups, and they send all the best news directly to your home screen, but only the key news. They don't bombard you with a load of news bulletins that you don't want to know about. It's the key things, the talking points that you want to drop in the group chat with your mates. So it is really good, trust me, and let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. But let's get into it. If you want to see a championship version of this, go and hit that like button, and if we get 300 likes, I will do that for you. Now let's get right into it, shall we? First up, we got Brendan Rodgers, a manager that's been around the block and good enough to be the Liverpool manager at one point, but all of his major honours have come in Scotland. For me, he's a decent to solid Premier League manager, but you know what? I'm gonna lean towards solid for the work that he's doing with Leicester. He's got an incredible squad there, but he guided them to a 5th place finish last season. It's up to you to decide whether that's, you know, a good enough position for Leicester or not. But there was so much to compete with. You could argue maybe they could have finished above Chelsea and gone for the Champions League spot. Was last season a failure or a success? Let me know down in the comments. But for me, I think he's a fairly solid Premier League manager. He's on the lower end. He could be indecent, but we move. Next up, we've got Carlo Ancelotti, and I have to put him up there. I can't lie, I've got to put him up there. He's managed some amazing clubs, and for me, I think he's a very, very good manager. He's in the elite level. The thing is, it's difficult because you look at Klopp, you look at Pep and co, and you're thinking, does he sit in that bracket? Does he sit? You know, he's one of only 3 managers to have won the Champions League 3 times, and that takes some doing. I don't care what club you manage. It's such a hard trophy to win. He's done it 3 times. He has to be elite for me. Next up, we've got Marcelo Bielsa. He's been around the block, a man of many, many clubs, and he's done well taking Leeds up, but you have to argue, you know, he's definitely a very good manager. Leeds are a team that kept failing to get promoted. He had to do it at the 2nd attempt with them. I don't think he's elite, but I do think he's a very solid manager in the Premier League. And you can see with the way that Leeds have started their season why he's up there. He's a great manager. Bilic is a difficult one. I do think he's a decent Premier League manager. He's not going to be up there with solid for me. He did all right at West Ham. He did well to get West Brom promoted, but I think there's more to see from him potentially. He needs to do a little bit more for me to get in that solid bracket. Next up, we've got Steve Bruce. This is a difficult one because you can argue he's done quite a good job at Newcastle. Rafa Benitez was sacked. Rafa Benitez wasn't really backed either, and they've now given money to Steve Bruce, but he's doing okay. Do I think he's in a decent bracket? I think he's in between decent and meh. It's really difficult because I want to put him in decent, but I think he's an okay manager. He's you know, he's one of these that come around and he can be at a few clubs maybe down the bottom or around the area, but I can't really see him going anywhere higher than Newcastle currently. And it pains me to say it because he's a lovely bloke and he's got a great soft soothing voice. Next up, we got Dean Smith. Dean Smith. The one, you know what? If I take away all bias, I'm going to put him in the meh category, right? Because I don't think he's an amazing manager. He hasn't had much Premier League experience really, but what you can say is it a success? I mean, I guess you could say it was a success, him keeping Villa upright. You know, he had a good squad with him. Yes, McGinn was out for a while, Grealish was out for a while. That's why I'm not going to put him down in the Championship category. He managed to turn that team around eventually, but to be fair, I think that could happen with a lot of managers. The one thing I will say about Villa is they kept faith in their manager for whatever reason. I think they did the right thing, and I think a lot of other clubs should follow suit because it's very easy when you're down there to panic and sack a manager. Like, look at Watford did. They had 4 managers in one season. Is that right? I think so. And they went down deservedly. So, yeah, I don't think he's a decent manager in the Premier League, but I think he definitely sticks in the meh category. Next up, we have got Sean Dyche. And say what you like about Sean Dyche and his style and whatever, but look at the squad he has with Burnley. I'm putting him in the solid category because how he manages to get that team to keep competing at this level, season after season with barely any funding really, barely any backing. He just makes teams hard to beat. He makes Burnley hard to beat, and I think it's a credit to him for how long he's been at Burnley. It says a lot about him. If you manage to keep a team like Burnley up in the Premier League for that long, you have to be a solid manager for me. Next up, we've got Frank Lampard, and I am going to stick him in the solid category too. You know, managing to get Champions League with the team he had last season, he wasn't able to spend too much money. Obviously now he's spending all of the money there ever was, but he did have a fairly young squad, and it is difficult getting into the Champions League, man. It really is. You know, Spurs had a lot of injury worries last season. If that weren't the case, maybe they could have picked them to the 4th place. Maybe Leicester could have, but the fact is, he got them Champions League. He's solid and he's young. He is going to be up there, and it's good to see, man. I hope he stays at Chelsea for a long time. I hope he doesn't get to the point where they start doing poorly, they have a little blip and they panic and sell him. But with these big clubs, that is often the case. Next up, you got Graham Potter. He's doing all right. He's doing all right in the Premier League, but I can't really put him in the decent category. Oh, do I put him? You know what? I do think Graham Potter is edging just into the decent category for me. I think there's more to come from Graham Potter as well. I'm popping him in decent. Probably slightly controversial, but that's what I'm going to go for. Hasenhüttl is a decent manager, I think. This is a difficult one as well. He did really well at Leipzig. Winning, I think he had a win percent ratio of almost 50%. You know, he did really well under them. He come to Southampton. It's a different league. It's difficult to get into it. I don't think he's in the bracket of Steve Bruce and Dean Smith, right? I'm going to put him in decent. I might put Dean Smith and even Brucey potentially into Championship, but I'm leaving it as it is. Am I? You know what? I'm sorry, Dean Smith. I've just said that. I'm dropping Dean Smith down into Championship, actually. But it's not because he's Villa. I'm potentially thinking about dropping Steve Bruce into there too. But look at what he's doing with Newcastle. That's the reason I can't at the minute. Next up, we've got Roy Hodgson. And I'm going to pop him straight in the middle of the decent area. No. I'm putting Hodgson. Oh, God. I've got to put him in decent. He managed England, he managed Liverpool. He's one of these managers now that has got to that stage in his career where he's just on the Premier League roundabout. He will just jump onto another team. If a team's struggling, he can go there, he can organise them, he can make them grind out 1-0 results, and that's what he's done at Crystal Palace. I do think he's decent. It's just not the most attractive style of football, and I'm trying to not let that change my opinion in any sense. So that's what I'm going for. Next up, we've got Jurgen Klopp, and I think it has to be said, he's got to go straight into elite. Never mind what he's done before Liverpool, but he's finally, after 30 years, brought a Premier League title back to Liverpool. The season after winning the Champions League, he has got to be up there. He is a brilliant manager, and you can just see it in him. He's an amazing manager, one of my favourite ones, just because the energy that he gives off is incredible, and he's clearly such a good manager as well as a tactician. He's everything you want in a manager. Next up, we've got Mikel Arteta, another young one, and I do compare him quite a lot to Frank Lampard. You know, similar ages, both quality players, and Arteta's doing a good job at the minute. You know, he came in, Arsenal was struggling a little bit, and he managed to organise them and make them look a bit of a better side. Arsenal are by no means the finished product at the minute. There's a lot that needs to be fixed there, but I do think Arteta is a solid appointment, and I hope they give him time and faith to actually build on what he's done so far at the club. I don't know. It's really difficult, man, but I'm putting him up there in solid. Next up, we've got Jose Mourinho. He has got to go up there. He has won numerous amounts of silverware. I think he's won silverware at every single club he's gone to, and then he's gone to Tottenham. They haven't won a trophy since 2008, so this is really going to be one of his toughest tests so far. He just has this charisma about him. He's clearly a good manager. He clearly knows how to change a side and turn around the fortunes. And like you say, I think he could have done a lot better last season at Spurs, but there are so many different factors in that. I do think they're going to have a good season this year, and maybe Mourinho can bring silverware back to Spurs. Can it happen? Let me know down in the comments. Will they finally win a trophy? Next up, we've got Moise. Moise is the exact same level as Roy Hodgson, and I can't lie, I'm very tempted to drop them both down to meh, but I'm feeling like it's meh based on the style of football they play. He knows how to get results. He did amazingly at Everton. It's very easy to forget what Moyes did at Everton. He went to Man U. That seems to be the memory that everyone has of him. You know, he went to West Ham. They struggled. They almost went down, but he did keep them up. And the question is whether he can keep that going now and build on that for this season. Next up, we got Nuno, and he is an incredible manager. Nuno was sacked from Porto for not bringing silverware there, but since he's gone to Wolves, he has done amazing things. I know there's a lot of money behind that club as well, but the way that they play football, and he's clearly got connections, and he knows the right players to go for. I know not a lot of that is down to him, but in terms of how Wolves are playing and the force that they look this season and the season before, I think he's got to be up there as a solid manager, surely. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This is a tricky one because in terms of the manager, he's very similar to Lampard and Arteta, but you know what? I've got to say it. He's learning. He seems to be learning on the job, right? And he's doing it well. I know at the minute Man U don't look the best team. They can look shocking at times, but he managed to guide Man U to a 3rd place finish. So for me, I've got to put that in the solid category because not every manager can do that. You know, they've got a team full of good quality players, but you've got to unite them and get them all pushing in the right direction. And I think he's managed to do that. I hope he's given some time, and I guess time will tell whether he's going to be a very good manager or just stay in this category. Pep Guardiola, elite. Enough said. He's won a lot of silverware, and yes, he's had a bit of a tricky season last season with Man City. And I think this season will be a big test for him as for what he can do now. He's got all the resources available to him, and he has to really prove himself a little bit more now because last season just wasn't good enough for Man City's expectations. So I do still think that he's an elite manager. Next up, we've got Scott Parker, and still slightly unproven, but I'm going to put him down. Oh, do I? I'm going to put him down into Championship. Oh, but the thing is, I do think there's a lot of time for him to improve as a manager. He's done well with Fulham. He's got them promoted. It's going to be a tricky season for them this time around, and maybe he can prove himself to me as a decent or even a solid manager. But right now, he's in the meh. Oh, he could go in the... Oh, this is a tricky one. I really don't know. You guys let me know in the comments. I'm going to put him in the Championship. And finally, we've got Chris Wilder, who will have to go in the solid category for everything he has done with Sheffield United. He took Sheffield United from being a League One club to a Premier League club, and not just that, they have been incredible last season. So I've just got to say he's a solid manager for that. He's in the Deutsch territory. If he can maintain this now, that's the question for me. If he can maintain this, he will be in the Deutsch category for me. Absolutely solid. But that is it. Those are all the managers. Let me know if you agree with me. I hope you do. I hope I've given a fair assessment for each manager, but if you're a fan that supports that team, you might know a little bit more about them than me. If I've given something wrong, let me know why in the comments below, because a lot of the time I do get things wrong. But this is my assessment. Let me know what you think. That's it from me anyway, guys. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell as well. Don't forget to do that. Download the OneFootball app. The link is down in the description. Go and check that out and support the channel by doing so. But until next time, that's it from me. See you in a bit.